Welcome to Pulse 24. This week, the cost of running AI got squeezed from three directions at once. A laptop that swallowed a million token model, a tiny router that bosses around GPT-5, and OpenAI bundling voice into a single API call. Salvatore Sanfilippo, the creator of Redis, just shipped an engine called DS4 that runs DeepSeek's V4 Flash with its full million-token context window on a MacBook. What does that actually change for teams building AI products?
It changes the assumption that long-context inference requires a data center. V4 Flash is built so that only a small slice of the model activates for each token, and Sanfilippo uses aggressive compression to squeeze the rest into 128 gigabytes of unified memory on Apple Silicon.
How aggressive are we talking?
2-bit quantization, which trades some precision at the margins for a dramatic reduction in memory. Combined with a disk-based key-value cache, it fits what would normally need a rack of GPUs onto a laptop.
A 128 gig MacBook still costs north of £3,500 though. If local keeps getting cheaper, how do cloud providers justify all that capex?
The FT reported this week that big tech's combined AI infrastructure spend is heading for $725 billion this year, pushing their aggregate free cash flow to a decade low. That's $725 billion they eventually need to recover through your API bill.
And 2-bit quantization isn't lossless. What actually breaks?
You lose fidelity on tasks that need high numerical precision, and you're locked to one model rather than a menu. But 6 months ago, this workload needed a server rack.
So what kinds of work makes sense to run locally right now?
Batch processing and retrieval over private documents are the obvious candidates. Regulated industries like healthcare and legal get the clearest win because sensitive data never leaves the machine.
What about startups burning through cloud credits?
Benchmark DS4 against your monthly inference bill. Real-time multimodal is still where the cloud has leverage. But for everything else, the calculus is changing quarter by quarter.
So that's one way to compress costs. Run the model yourself. Sakana AI took a different approach at ICLR 2026 with a routing model called RL Conductor, essentially a traffic controller for AI.
It's a 7 billion parameter model that learned which model handles which type of question best. Instead of sending everything to the most expensive option, it picks the cheapest one that can do the job.
How much does that actually save?
About 83% in token spend, according to their benchmarks, while matching frontier models on accuracy. The insight is simple. Most production pipelines mix easy and hard queries, and you're overpaying every time you send a classification task to a frontier model.
The catch being, you're now depending on multiple providers staying available and stable.
Multi-provider dependency is the trade-off. Sakana has commercialized this as a product called Fugu. So if you're running multi-model pipelines, benchmark it against your current routing and measure cost per task.
Which workloads benefit most?
Anything with mixed complexity, where your pipeline handles both simple classification and hard reasoning. For uniform, high-difficulty tasks, a single top model still wins.
Local inference compresses cost from the hardware side, smart routing from the software side, but OpenAI's bet is that convenience beats price. On the 7th of May, they launched 3 real-time voice models that collapse reasoning, translation, and transcription into one API call.
That's a deliberate moat. Before this, you had to stitch together separate speech-to-text, language model, and text-to-speech services yourself, which meant latency, complexity, and 3 vendor relationships.
So they've collapsed the whole pipeline into one call. What does that actually look like?
Picture a customer support agent that reasons through a billing dispute mid-call while translating into the caller's language in real time. One API handles all of it.
Why can't someone just run voice locally, the way DS4 runs text?
The bottleneck is latency. A voice agent needs to think, translate, and speak in near real time, all at once. And that's a much harder problem than processing a batch of documents.
What's the cost exposure?
Premium pricing. So start with real-time whisper for transcription and layer in reasoning selectively. Track your per-session costs weekly because unthrottled usage at these rates will shock you.
That premium tells you where OpenAI thinks its moat is. And it raises a harder question. If AI tools are this productive, what happens to the headcount?
Cloudflare answered that last week by cutting 1,100 people, roughly 20% of the workforce, while offering full salary through end of year. CNBC reported that CEO Matthew Prince cited a 600% increase in internal AI usage over just 3 months.
The most explicit AI to headcount link from a public company this year.
And a signal that boards are quantifying the productivity gain and acting on it. If you haven't measured your own team's AI adoption metrics, do it before your board does.
Where headcount is shrinking, capital is flowing in. Moonshot AI, behind the open-weight Kimi models, just closed a $2 billion round at a $20 billion valuation.
TechCrunch reported on the 7th that Meituan's venture arm led the round. The open-weight angle matters because any team that wants to fine-tune or self-host a frontier-class model now has a well-funded option outside Western providers.
3 ways to compress the cost of intelligence, all in 1 week. That's our lot for episode 41. Thanks for listening to Pulse 24. Stay curious, stay informed. See you next time.